Scared, Harry?
A little.
That's all right. I felt the same way before my first game.
What happened?
I don't really remember. I took a bludger to the head 2 minutes in. Woke up in hospital a week later.
Quidditch game of the season. Today's game, Slytherin versus Gryffindor.
The players take their positions as Madam Hooch steps out onto the field to begin the game.
Now I want a nice, clean game. From all of you.
The bludgers are up, followed by the golden snitch. Remember, the snitch is worth 150 points. The seeker who catches the snitch ends the game. The quaffle is released, and the game begins!
Give me that! Take that side! What's going on with Harry's broomstick?
He's jinxing the broom.
Jinxing the broom? What do we do?
Leave it to me. Lacanum inflammare.
You're on fire! Looks like he's gonna be set.
He's got the snitch! Harry Potter receives 150 points for catching the snitch.
Gryffindor wins!
Hey there, LEGO fans and Potterheads. I'm the lawyer in the LEGO shed, and this is the 19th in a series of videos that I'll be making as I build my way through the magical world of LEGO Harry Potter. I've been collecting the Harry Potter LEGO line since it started back in 2001 with the release of the very first movie. And for this video series, I'll be building sets that have been part of the more recent waves of Harry Potter LEGO, beginning in 2018 and stopping with the 2023 releases. My plan is to go in movie order, so without further ado, let's get started. Today we're covering set number 75956, the Quidditch Match. This set was released in 2018 with 500 pieces and 6 minifigures. This is the third time that a Quidditch match has been the subject of an official set. The first was 7426 Quidditch Practice, which was released in 2002. That set featured a single stand and was split between Gryffindor and Slytherin. The goal hoops are there, and it also gave us our very first Madam Hooch minifigure, and then the very first Quidditch uniforms. There's also been a Quidditch Tower released in the same year, 2002, that was a promotional build at Toys R Us stores, which had a Ravenclaw and Hufflepuff color scheme and clearly was meant to kind of work alongside this particular Quidditch practice release. The second official set was 4737, which is called Quidditch Match, released in 2010. This set again featured the single stand. This time it was Ravenclaw themed. The goal hoops, and a total of 4 Quidditch players, and gave us our second Madam Hooch minifigure. Based upon the characters included in this set that we're reviewing today, we are clearly building Harry's first ever Quidditch match. And let's get it out here and kind of talk about some of the component parts. So first we've got our main build here, I would say, with the goalposts and then the Ravenclaw Tower and the Hufflepuff Tower. Then we have a Gryffindor Tower as well and a Slytherin Tower, really rounding out our half of the stadium here. Lots of really fun things to kind of like explore. What I really liked about just the initial composition here was the fact that we had each tower had something different going on with it. So there's an iconic moment in the scene where a chaser ends up getting knocked down and falls through the Gryffindor Tower and falls out at the bottom. So you can actually recreate that moment here with the flinging and swinging area for the Gryffindor Tower. So that's its kind of little unique component. Then on the Ravenclaw Tower, we have the megaphone that's being used by Lee Jordan as he is announcing the game. Over here on the Hufflepuff Tower, we have the two groups that are playing, the two teams that are playing, as well as, I think, something that's meant to indicate either scoring or penalties. It's a little unclear. I watched the scene a few times trying to capture what this is maybe trying to entail. It seems that it might be something along those lines, but it was still difficult for me to kind of gather. But these are removable and can be stored here in this little opening door, which is really fun. And then, of course, we have the Slytherin side, which has a little fire element that you can kind of see coming up here. And what that is in reference to is obviously the scene where Hermione goes and sets Professor Snape's cloak on fire as she thinks that he is the one that is jinxing the broom. In addition to our primary build, we have a few other little components as well. We've got a nice little Quidditch trunk here that has an additional quaffle for us and some bludgers. You can kind of see them in there. We've got a nice little stand for a Quidditch cup. And then we have an attachment that can go on to anybody's broom, ideally a chaser's, that then can do a launch of a little quaffle here to try and get it through the goal hoops. In addition, we have another launching feature down here, which is actually a bludger release to try and knock, or I think dissuade a chaser from trying to throw in a quaffle into the goal hoops there. But they both operate on those same little principles that LEGO has used before, where you can, I'll just do a little demo here, see if I can not shoot it too far, but kind of shoot it, and there goes the quaffle. But anyway, really fun kind of like initial setup here that I think is a good emblematic kind of concept. Obviously, this is a massive upgrade when we are talking about the comparison between the original two that I showed earlier. And, you know, it's an upgrade in many respects. First of all, we've got 200 pieces, or less than 200 pieces in those initial sets. This one is now 500. It's a lot more movie accurate, as you can see with the different towers here, and more figures. And so all around, we're just dealing with a much better set. I also really loved the choice that they made to have this particular set be the one based upon his very first Quidditch match. This is a major scene in that movie, and it's great to finally see it getting its due here. There are a few things that I didn't love, but those are kind of three big categories. The first is that with previous iterations of this kind of concept, as well as other sports-themed LEGO sets, we essentially get the whole thing cut in half. So this is literally only half of the actual Quidditch pitch itself. So you would need to buy two in order to meaningfully have a complete field. This set also could have been one level taller. These towers are a little squat compared to how they appear in the movie. I understand that they have those certain limitations, but for those that have been watching for the whole time, that's kind of a main criticism that I have of this entire wave of Harry Potter Lego, particularly 2018 to 2020. It feels like it's just about a level too short. And so I think that is another thing that has carried through on this set. Another factor that would have been nice is, as you noticed when I moved it in, we have a connection here that keeps all of this connected for the Hufflepuff and Ravenclaw towers. It would have been really nice to have something that then connected our Gryffindor and Slytherin towers, which, as we know from the scene, there are actually places for people to stand. The stands continue in these gaps in between the tall towers, and it would have been nice to just have yet another continuation of that to really round out this being a full Quidditch pitch and or stadium. So then, while the minifig set selection, which we're going to get to in a second, is great here, and clearly an upgrade, there were a lot of missed opportunities, I think. One is Lee Jordan. He actually comes in a set that we'll talk about later. You know, he's a pretty predominant character in this scene as he's commentating and should be standing right here next to his megaphone, but he's not, which is kind of an interesting decision to not have him. Next up would be Professor Quirrell. He is the person who's actually jinxing Harry's broom. So he would have been a good inclusion to have here with Professor Snape, especially since he is a part of that moment when Hermione lights Snape's cloaks on fire. Kind of an odd decision to not include him. Next was Madame Hooch. She had been included in every previous Quidditch-oriented set. I know that we just covered her being present in the first flying lesson, so maybe that was all intentional to just have her be there. But I would then say this: the first flying lesson is technically part of the wave from 2021. It's not a set that was part of the 2018 to 2020 waves, so you technically didn't get a Madame Hooch unless you sought out a very particular set from Barnes & Noble that was a minifig collection. So kind of an odd decision there as well. And then last but not least was a female Quidditch player. They have yet to have a female Quidditch player be released in one of these bigger sets. We do get Cho kind of later in a polybag, which we'll discuss later. But it is kind of an odd decision here to yet again not include a female Quidditch player when we have 3 female chasers on the Gryffindor team. So while I understand the inclusion of who we have, it would have been a nice opportunity to really round that out. So keeping that in mind, let's move on to the minifigs themselves. First up, we have Hermione and Snape. I'll just put them kind of right here. You know, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on them because neither of them are unique to this set, and we will cover them in other videos or have covered them already. They do look great for what they're doing, but yeah, kind of overall just not quite, you know, being amazing per se. Would have been nice to see Hermione in a scarf here, as it is a cold day, and in the scene she is wearing a scarf. And Snape obviously does look pretty great in his standard black uniform. So I'll move them over here for now. And then let's talk about our Slytherin team. So we have 2 folks that are included. We have Marcus Flint, who is our team captain here. And then we have Lucian Boyle, maybe. I don't quite know how to say his name, but that is who he is cited as being on LEGO's website and on Brickset, so we're going to go with that's who he is. Let's talk about Marcus Flint first, since Lucian is not wanting to stand up. So with Marcus, he, I think, looks really great. He's got his great kind of bad guy face, which we can see here. And interestingly, he is also carrying what appears to be a Nimbus 2001. For those that know, this will be present in movie 2 because Draco's father buys it on behalf of the Slytherin Quidditch team. So kind of an interesting choice to have him wear, or having that broom, which shouldn't necessarily appear until the second movie. But he looks great. Lucian Boyle, like I mentioned, kind of an odd inclusion here. He does not appear to have been on the team until the second year. When Harry's there, and when Draco's finally on the team with them. I would say that a more reasonable inclusion for him would have been Terrence Higgs, who is actually the Slytherin Seeker, and the one with whom Harry interacts several times during the scene. They have that whole moment where they're kind of pushing back and forth, and then the whole moment where Harry decides to dive more than he did, and ultimately catches the snitch. So, ultimately, though, I think they look great. We'll discuss the uniforms in just a second. Let's move on to the Gryffindor Quidditch team. First up, we have Oliver Wood. Oliver Wood has been depicted only just one other time in Lego form. He looks great here with his uniform and his kind of cute little face and good haircut here that feels indicative of how he appears in the movie. Then we have our protagonist, main guy, Harry here, who again also looks great. He's holding an incredible piece, which I really love. We've already discussed this piece in Quality Quidditch Supplies, but I do think it's worth noting how good it is again. This snitch element that he's got, and then his uniform as well. So let's actually talk about the uniforms themselves. I think that these are pretty effective. They are just differently colored across the two, and then have the different seal or emblem on the shoulder pad on the chest to indicate which team. It's interesting too because in the first two films, they feature the players wearing effectively this getup. They're wearing sweaters underneath and then a laced cloak that goes right over the top of those sweaters. Prior minifig versions have had the sweaters fully visible, and then the capes that they were wearing were meant to represent the laced up capes. These newer versions show obviously the laced up cloaks with the sweaters hinted at underneath. Lego's kind of been doing this a lot lately with these more complex, directly referencing certain characters and certain outfits. They'll kind of layer things clothing-wise, sometimes where it is meant to be a cloak over top of something, like they've done here. And I think that this printing decision will sometimes be effective, and sometimes it can be kind of annoying. But here, I do think it actually kind of works pretty well. Next and last, it would have been nice to have our white pants dual molded because everyone is wearing brown leather boots. So it would have been nice to have those molded so that we could get the full effect of the Quidditch uniform. So with those things in mind, my overall impression of this set is that despite my critiques, I was really happy with this set. I think that it's even more exciting when you finally do decide to buy a second Quidditch pitch, which I've done. I'll drop a photo in here of what it looks like all together because it really does feel complete once you've done that. So that is it for 75956. If you are interested in following along on this journey with me, please feel free to follow the account. And if there's anything else that you think I should be covering in these reviews, feel free to drop a comment and let me know. But other than that, thanks for watching and have an awesome day.